What if a silent girl appears out of nowhere, trapped by invisible chalk lines she refuses to cross, and those lines hide a secret darker than you could imagine? In the chalk line, every stroke reveals twisted truths and haunting shadows lurking just beneath the surface. Watch the full recap, but be careful where you step. The movie kicks off on a dark, quiet night with a married couple, Simon and Paula, driving down a gloomy road. They pass a row of police cars, which is never a great sign when you're trying to enjoy a peaceful drive. Not long after, someone appears in the middle of the road. It's a young girl, just standing there silently. Simon and Paula, being the decent humans they are, jump out of the car to help her, but the girl doesn't say a word or even react. Before they can properly figure things out, she suddenly runs straight toward an oncoming motorcycle. The rider has no chance to stop in time and ends up crashing while the girl gets knocked out. Rushing her to the hospital, the couple is relieved to hear the girl wasn't actually hit by the motorcycle. Apparently, she was already very ill. The police get involved, but have no luck identifying her. No ID, no parents, not even a missing person report. It's like she just appeared out of thin air. The next morning, we learn Paula is secretly going through fertility treatments and injecting herself with medication without telling Simon. They decide to visit the mysterious girl again. Although she still refuses to speak, the doctors have managed to learn her name, Clara, thanks to her reacting strongly when someone nearby called a nurse by that name. When they enter her room, it looks more like a wrestling match than a hospital visit. Clara is violently thrashing around while nurses try to calm her. Paula does the only thing that makes sense in this situation. She steps into a chalk-marked box on the floor and hugs the girl. Amazingly, it works. Clara stops screaming and calms down. The next day, they find Clara tied to her hospital bed, since apparently she's considered a danger to herself. Simon, not a fan of this approach, tries to untie her, but is promptly kicked out by a nurse. That morning, he confesses he can't stop thinking about Clara, which raises eyebrows but also shows how attached they're getting. Soon, a hospital psychologist approaches them with a suggestion. Since Clara is getting physically better and has bonded with them, maybe they should foster her temporarily. The hospital isn't the best place for her mental health, and with no family in sight, it seems like the most humane option. So Simon and Paula agree to take Clara home. Once at their place, they set up a cozy little room for her and follow one strange instruction from the psychologist. Draw a chalk circle around her sleeping area. As weird as it sounds, it turns out Clara has a psychological condition that makes her terrified to step outside chalk lines. The next morning, Clara eyes a potted plant longingly from inside her chalk circle. Paula, being sweet, moves it into the circle for her. Clara's delighted. Paula then decides to test the limits by slowly dragging the plant outside the line. Clara doesn't follow, but once a new chalk line is drawn around it, she happily moves to it. So Paula, now a professional chalk architect, starts expanding Clara's little world one line at a time until the whole house is chalk approved. Clara begins to feel safer and freer, and the couple becomes more emotionally invested. Things are going well until the psychologist returns for a session. This time, the therapy involves erasing the chalk line, which causes Clara to panic hard. Paula, listening from the next room, can't stand the screaming and rushes in, and for the first time, Clara speaks, but all she manages to say is something that sounds like booma. Later, the psychologist records her voice while asking some basic questions, trying to get more clues. Clara utters some unfamiliar, foreign-sounding words, one of which is Kryda. Later, Paula reassures Clara that nothing bad will happen to her. Clara gives Paula an origami as a thank you gift. That night, Paula and Simon attend a neighborly dinner with Claudia, Beltran, Eduardo, and Maite. They're friendly, slightly nosy neighbors. All seems fine until Claudia visits the next day and ends up bleeding from the mouth after eating jam because apparently someone spiked it with glass shards. Simon suspects foul play and thinks someone tampered with the jam jars. Suspiciously, the fridge is very close to Clara's chalk boundary, but Paula refuses to believe the child would do such a thing. Soon after, Simon buys more chalk and notices that Kryda, one of Clara's words, actually means chalk in German. The psychologist returns and drops a bomb. The other words Clara whispered were in German too, and they translate to things like punishment and fear. They still have no clue what booma means though. The doctor rushes to contact police in Germany to check for missing girls. To test if Clara really is German, Paula tries speaking German while playing a puzzle with her. Clara understands but refuses to talk about her parents. The washing machine starts banging violently, so Paula checks it and finds the house key inside. When she returns, Clara is missing. Paula runs outside, checks with a neighbor, but no one's seen her. She finally finds Clara back in the kitchen, calmly sipping juice with Simon like nothing ever happened. Paula's growing worry prompts her to ask Clara to communicate her fears. She brings up booma again, hoping to get answers. Clara stays silent. Paula gets frustrated and threatens to erase the chalk lines. an act of war in Clara's world. Clara responds by kicking her. While that chaos unfolds, Paula notices Eduardo watching her through his window. Later, the psychologist informs Paula that Claudia has told everyone about the jam incident, and now everyone thinks Clara is dangerous. Then Clara brings Paula a strange drawing, which nobody can make sense of. The psychologist is concerned, saying Clara might not be improving, and that the government might take her away. Paula is devastated, but tries to make use of the remaining time. She opens Google Translate and starts typing every possible version of Booma. Eventually, while sipping tea and reviewing voice recordings, Paula finds the missing piece. Clara had said Booman, not Booma, and Booman means boogeyman in German. At that exact moment, Paula realizes something is wrong. Her throat starts to hurt. Turns out someone spiked her drink with glass too. She coughs up blood and drags herself to the bathroom, where she pulls shards out with tweezers. Once she's done, she notices the front doors open and Clara is gone. Paula instantly assumes she's been kidnapped, because no way would Clara leave the safety of her chalk-lined world on her own. After Clara disappeared, the police got involved right away. Later that same night, they found her tiny jacket tossed away in the woods. Paula was shaken, and while the detectives insisted the girl had run away, she wasn't buying it. The next morning, things got worse. Simon confronted Paula about hiding her fertility treatments. He was upset, and not just because of the secrecy. They had agreed to stop trying for a baby after years of heartbreak, but Paula was still secretly hoping. To him, it seemed like she was clinging to Clara as a replacement, ignoring all the strange and dangerous events that had unfolded since the girl came into their lives. To drive his point home, Simon pulled out Clara's little penguin plushie. Inside the pocket were shards of glass. Paula was stunned. Despite the evidence piling up, she still believed Clara was innocent. That same day, Paula received a call on the landline. It was Clara's voice, faintly repeating the word mama before the line went dead. Paula immediately told the police, only to learn the call had come from her own cell phone, except she hadn't used it. Suspicious of her story, the police started to think she was losing it. They took her phone and forced her to undergo a psychological evaluation, but Paula wasn't ready to give up. Taking matters into her own hands, she secretly grabbed a stack of German case files from the police station. Among the documents were two kinds of cases: missing girls and crimes committed against girls. One report detailed the body of an unidentified teenage girl who had been beaten and assaulted. Strangely enough, at the crime scene, police had found an origami figure, exactly like the ones Clara made. Paula noted the name of the coroner who wrote the report and paid her a visit. The coroner explained that the dead girl had a lazy eye and weak kidneys, just like Clara. Paula recalled one of the missing person files had a German girl named Ingrid with a similar medical condition. Digging further, she found an old news report showing Ingrid's parents pleading for help after their daughter was kidnapped while on a beach vacation in Malaga. That case had gone cold years ago. Even more chilling, Paula found another origami at Ingrid's home. It was becoming clear that Clara was connected to this girl. Returning home, Paula examined a strange drawing Clara had given her. Suddenly, it clicked. The drawing was a view from the window of their house, specifically a view straight into their neighbor Eduardo and his wife Maite's home. Eduardo, always lurking near the windows, started to look more suspicious than ever. Paula immediately informed the police and pushed them to investigate Eduardo. While they prepared a search, she took things a step further and decided to enter his home herself. Once inside, Eduardo left to find the map, giving Paula a chance to snoop around. Before she could leave, the door locked behind her, and Eduardo returned with a hammer. Instead of maps, he delivered a stab and dragged Paula into a hidden underground basement. Down there, Paula finally saw Clara again, surrounded by chalk lines. Clara looked terrified as Paula was chained up in another room. When the police came knocking, Eduardo sweet-talked them away like a true manipulator, then returned to his dungeon lair with a torture device in hand. He demanded to know how Paula had figured it all out. Based on what we've learned, here's the full horror story. Eduardo had kidnapped Ingrid years ago. Eventually, Ingrid became pregnant and he let her raise the baby in captivity. That baby was Clara. After some time, he murdered Ingrid and dumped her body, leaving Clara to grow up locked away and traumatized. When her failing kidneys forced him to seek outside help, he planted her in the middle of the road and hoped someone would take her in. Back in the basement, Paula explained she had pieced it all together using the files. Eduardo, realizing she had physical evidence in her car, left to go get it. While he was gone, Paula managed to unlock her restraints and reached into her pocket for something useful: chalk. She tossed it toward Clara, urging her to take control of her fears. Clara picked it up and, for the first time, drew her own chalk line. When Eduardo returned, he was furious to find Clara missing. He attacked Paula again, but during the struggle, Clara took her chance and escaped upstairs. She locked the basement door behind her, began drawing chalk lines across the house and finally made it to the front door. With nowhere left to draw, she screamed for help. Simon, just next door, was too distracted making a missing person report to notice. That's when Maite stepped in and dragged Clara back inside. She knew everything and had helped Eduardo all along. The next morning, Eduardo slept peacefully, thinking everything was back to normal. But when Maite opened the door for some fresh air, the police burst in. They had spotted Clara's handprint on the door. Paula and Clara were rescued from the basement. Eduardo and Maite were arrested. In the final scene, time has passed. Paula is video calling Clara, who is now living in Germany with her real grandparents, Ingrid's parents. Clara is smiling, happy, and finally free. And in a beautiful twist of fate, Paula is pregnant at last.